I am pretty sure that Johnny Dub is aka Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, aka Doug Mesner, running around doing memes now all about me in a war with transsexuals. You can go to the description, you can go read just what was being said, you know? And someone left a comment, and Johnny Depp took a picture of that too. Let me be quite fucking clear. The fact that Amber Volatin is transsexual has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that she murdered Lorie King and then she bragged about it to a bunch of people, telling everybody that she's the one who force fed Lorie King all those pills that ended up taking Lorie King's life because she had to be the one. That's what she told people. Has nothing to do with what gender she identifies with. The issue is not her fucking gender. The issue is that she murdered someone and she went and bragged about it and told all kinds of people. Sorry, I'm gonna bring it back in. I don't know. I know what I have done, but then the videos that I made, that account is gone. So those videos are gone, but I still did all kinds of stuff. Floyd, Virginia is where it happened. So go to davidshurter.com, just type in Lorie King in the search bar on the right, and stuff will come up. She was co-founder, one of three, of the trauma group Ivory Garden. And so I also got an email saying that Thomas is involved with Denise Mathau. They're all involved with each other. I've known that Denise Mathau is bad since the days of my SMART conference, when I was speaking at the SMART conference. I knew this whole rivalry that Denise Mathau and Terry Joyce have is all controlled opposition. And you can throw Angela Power Disney in with that whole fucking mess. Because they're all connected. It's all one big group trying to protect all of the child trafficking bullshit. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's pretty obvious that they're actually stalking me, that they're focused on me, that they're doing whatever they can to hurt me. Those flyers just... And it's stressful because here I am. This is how I look at it. Here I am. I don't have kids. I'm never going to have kids. And yet, I've given my entire life to actually trying to stop this child trafficking bullshit. And why? Because it's the right thing to fucking do. You know? It's the right thing to do. And this group needs to be exposed. But Doug Mesner can run around, you know. I don't really know anything about what Denise Mathau does or doesn't do. I don't keep up with their bullshit because there's so much of it. Who the fuck can keep up with any of it? You know? It's just, they're walking chaos machines. And everyone who finds themselves in the unfortunate position of dealing with them, all they do is bring chaos. And they're aggressive with it they're aggressive with bringing chaos, and then they all work with each other. So then you get caught up in this chaos, and they act like a ping pong ball. They're all working at the same fucking objective. They're all on the same fucking team, but they have people bouncing around on like a ping pong ball because nobody knows who to trust. When it comes down to it, it's just easier to think you just don't trust any of them, you know? But I haven't had shit to do with Denise Matthau for years, you know? And what they'll do is they'll dox me. They'll put my phone number out, they'll put my address out, they're doing anything, whatever they can to do to threaten me, because they don't want their child trafficking operation exposed. But Amber Volatin is directly and completely connected to Doug Mesner, aka Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple. Directly connected. They were all involved with each other. All the shit that went down with Lorie King. That's the reason why they're so invested in me not exposing them. The issue for them is that there's so much shit to expose, it's only going to take one thing to bring them down. It's only going to take one thing to bring them down. And chances are around here that gas station explosion was a domestic terroristic attack. They put a bomb in that fucking thing to try and kill me. You know? The place did not fill with gas and get demolished with one explosion like the official report says. Who could get them to lie about it? Because it's obviously a lie. You know, so when you compare the KETV news report done that night with Neil Gross, Shelby County Sheriff Neil Gross on there, not to mention Dan, who was in the gas station, who was on camera saying that he got out of the gas station, then went back in the gas station, got his brother-in-law, got them both back out before the second explosion demolished the place. That's on camera, as well as I'm on camera too, you know, because I was involved with that whole situation. And who was threatening me at the time? Doug Mesner. Was Thomas Schoenberger involved? Yeah, I'm sure. I think Thomas Schoenberger is above Doug Mesner, but they're all part of the same group. That's what I believe. I believe Johnny Dub, who came to me via Thomas Schoenberger, is Doug Mesner. And now he's trying to say that, oh, you can't look at Amber Volatin for bragging about murdering Lorie King because Amber Volatin is transsexual. And so for you to look at her for bragging about murdering Lorie King because she's trans, that's discrimination. And that's their argument. That was Gabe Hoffman's. That's the first thing he did. He tried to actually say that I was anti-Semitic. No. Being a child trafficker that I believe this group is involved with is kind of, that's the whole issue right there. It doesn't make any difference what they identify with religion. It doesn't make any difference what gender they identify with. They're not, it doesn't have anything to do with any of that. This has to do with child trafficking. You know? That's what it has to deal with, is child trafficking. And none of that shit matters. You know? None of that shit matters. I'm not calling out Amber Volatin because Amber Volatin is transsexual, couldn't give a shit less. Couldn't give a shit less. But the whole situation with Lorie King and how it went down, and then the fact that Amber Volatin went out and bragged about it to people, that is the issue. That's the issue right there. Has nothing to do with anything else. And so they'll distract with all this other bullshit. But it's not going to work. Doug Mesner has tried to do that too. He tried to tell me, he tried to play Mike Aquino's game. I couldn't call him out because he was a Satanist and that was discrimination. But that doesn't work because he's on record saying he's a fucking atheist. So how am I discriminating against you as a Satanist when you're on record saying you're not a Satanist, you're an atheist? So how the fuck does that work? That's why he doesn't use that with me anymore. No, doesn't have anything to do with anything. This all has to do with this fucking child trafficking operation needs to be investigated. It needs to be exposed and stopped. That's what needs to happen. Doug Mesner and his little group, which I believe involves Mike Aquino and Gabe Hoffman and Thomas Schoenberger, Doug, aka Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, and his little friend Emily Thorne, aka Skills, aka Kara, you know, the free range humans person. And then on the other side, Sewertown and Corey Daniel and all of the shit. I call them the Dead Isaac Kappy Club. I don't even call them Sewertown. That's what they call themselves. I call them the Dead Isaac Kappy Club because they're everything involved with Dead Isaac Kappy. Isaac Kappy needs to be investigated. What he was alive, when he was alive, and what he was involved with, and who he was involved with, all needs to be investigated. It needs to be looked at. The allegations that he was trying to come out with child trafficking need to be fucking looked at. They do. And all this drama and all this bullshit that they keep throwing at the fucking fan is just nothing but a distraction. Because when it boils fucking down to it, it's about a child trafficking operation that needs to be fucking exposed. And this group needs to be fucking exposed. Tara Joyce, Daniel Dowd, Geo Farnsworth, Corey Daniel, Sicilian Witch Wife, DeFango, and all the dead people, all the people that have committed suicide when it comes to this group. Because there's an inordinate amount on the list of people who have committed suicide. And so it needs to be looked at. It needs to be investigated. And I don't even have any fucking kids. And here I am doing this shit because it's the right fucking thing to do. And my life has been, it's hell. They break into my house. They can hurt my dogs. They brag about it all the time. You know? And they'll come in and talk about my teeth. My teeth aren't pretty. I'm not pretty. Do you want to know what? That doesn't have anything to do with their fucking child trafficking, right? Their child trafficking operation. Not a fucking thing. My teeth, my hair, my clothes, my weight. Nothing in my life has anything that negates the fact that this child trafficking operation that has been called out by a myriad amount of people before needs to be fucking looked at. It needs to be fucking looked at. It needs to be investigated. And around here, that gas station explosion, you know, they can say whatever they want. People in town can say whatever the fuck they want. But the official story cannot exist at the same time that what happened that KETV reported. They conflict with each other. They can't exist in the same space. So one is a fucking lie and one is the truth. And seeing as how the owner of the gas station is still fucking alive, and he was in the gas station when the first explosion went off, obviously it didn't demolish the place. They didn't crawl out of rubble. And it was all happening because Isaac Kappy was trying to expose child trafficking. Isaac Kappy and I worked together. Along with Fiona Barnett. She was involved as well. And then I walked away because Fiona wanted to do what she needed to do, because they can say whatever they want with Isaac Kappy and Fiona Barnett. But afterwards, when he got back from Australia, they were still working together, you know? So It needs to be exposed. But the fact that Amber Volatin, who is the one who bragged about murdering Lorie King, the fact that Amber Volatin is transsexual doesn't have a fucking thing to do with anything. Nothing. Nothing. And I didn't like her because when I met her, she was a prick. More aggressive than any guy I've ever met. Oh my God. Just, it was bizarre how it worked, you know? The first conference, the first Ivory Garden conference was something else. It was something else. Didn't rival the second one, though. They murdered Lorie King and scared everyone. Scared the shit out of everyone. And then they bragged about it, because they do that. They do their shit, and then they fucking brag about it. That's what they think, that they just brag about it. And then people have the audacity to tell the victims to get over it. Get over it. Can't you just move past it? Get over it. You know? Get over it. I've been told that repeatedly. I'll put the thing in there, but just go in and type in Lorie King. And if you want the thing, coming clean with the murder investigation of Lorie King. That's the article you want to read. It was the second year. I don't know the date offhand. Shit, there's so much that is involved with all of this stuff. And so many people. You know, people in town are going to be listening. They won't have a fucking clue who Denise Matthau is. Won't have a fucking clue. Don't have a fucking clue who Angela Power Disney is. Don't have a fucking clue. You know? Angela Power Disney was directly connected with all those idiots that were in the Hampstead case out in the UK. All directly connected. With Sabine McNeil. You know? Another bad guy. There's just a lot of that. It's all, and it's not just one intelligence agency. It's obviously it's more. Look at what happened to Fiona down in Australia. Look at the shit that's gone on in the UK. Look at the shit that's gone on in the United States. You know? What I do know about the exact date of Lorie King is that she ended up dead the same Sunday that Ivory Garden was finishing up its second annual trauma conference in Seattle. Same fucking Sunday. They end, Lorie King ends up dead. And everybody heard about it. Well, how could they not? Because Amber Volatin went around and told everyone how she was the one who force-fed Lorie King all those pills. And she was the one. And Lorie King just gave up. That she just figured, what the fuck? And obviously Lorie King's husband had a problem with it because he ended up dead less than a year later. You know? All of this has to deal with child trafficking. It always has. When I got involved with this, when I wrote the book that ended up becoming Rabbit Hole, it was talking about how my parents were involved with the child trafficking ring in Omaha. And all of this stuff. So as an adult, all the people that are involved now have sought me out. I haven't reached out to any of the people I've mentioned, but they all sought me out. Every fucking one of them at one time or the other. Because that's what they fucking do. You know? And it's Sherilyn, who used to be my moderator, who was setting me up really good. Is she connected to that Famalam thing that's connected to Isaac Kappy? I don't know, but if she is, it needs to be investigated, because that Famalam thing is why I believe Isaac Kappy called himself a Judas. He designed that program, that Famalam program, to fight child trafficking. And the people that he had around him took it and warped it and started to use it for child trafficking. And that is the shit that Isaac Kappy found himself in at the end. Because this group just inundated him. That's why I say people need to investigate Isaac Kappy and who was around him, especially at the end. You know, especially at the end. Hey, Elizabeth. All of this is child trafficking. It needs to be exposed. And to turn away and just not care and let it happen isn't going to work well for anybody. For anybody. I just think we're at judgment. I think we're at the end. You know? I think we're at the end. And everything is providence. And we're all being tested. I'm being tested right now. On the verge of just having them decimate me. And they're giant dancing around for joy because they are convinced it's going to happen. They are convinced it's going to happen. They break into my fucking house. Fuck. Pretty soon they're going to have to actually buy peanut butter and bring it in to feed my dogs. Because I can't keep up with I can't keep up with it. No more peanut butter. And they do that shit just to be fucking harassing. You know? They just want you to know that they can get into your house anytime that they want. And they can do whatever they want anytime they want. And they can do whatever they want whenever they want. And there's no accountability, and they can work with impunity, and they can do whatever they want. And there's just no hope because it's just all them. It's just them and their group. But when it comes down to it, spiritually, I don't believe that's true at all. And I believe each one of them is going to be fucked because in the end, when they face what they're facing, they're going to face it alone. This group that they think protects them and pays them, because the people that are doing the shit around me are getting paid. Probably through Satanic Temple. I know that the Oompa Loompa meth head has been in contact with Daniel Dowd, because Daniel Dowd said that I give my book out to people thinking I'm famous. And I only did that to one person in the neighborhood. So it was not hard to figure out who he was talking about. It's all connected, because in town, it's all about this meth operation. But now people in town watch these videos. And now they know that it goes beyond the meth operation. It goes to the fact that they're protecting, the sheriff's department is not only doing meth, but they're protecting child killers. And so to support and protect them and just let whatever the fuck happens to whoever stands against it, what you're doing is you're protecting child killers. Whether or not you're honest with yourself or not, doesn't make any fucking difference. Whether or not you accept it, whether or not you believe it, doesn't make a fucking bit of difference. It is what it is. This is all about child trafficking. It has been for a long, long time. And so to actually just let the evil go and let it happen, I think that in town, I think what happened during that blizzard, when the darkness, when heaven used me as a conduit to give the Mexican munchkin the dark so he could spread it around to the rest of the community. I think that's the reason why we're in judgment, you know? And I think that things here are working in a way that And no one thinks that what they do makes a difference. They won't be held accountable. They can just do whatever the fuck they want. And they won't listen to anything. And I'm just saying, I think that there's more to it. And regardless of whatever excuse they have, regardless of whatever justification they can make, supporting people who are supporting and aiding and protecting child killers makes those people culpable for supporting fucking child killers. You know? Never been in jail. And they send all of their little minions. Sewertown has sent their minions. Daniel Dowd has sent his minions. Doug Mesner has sent his minions. Shit, they posted flyers all over town of my address and my picture, calling me a fucking pedophile. They've made sure everyone knows who I am, you know? And obviously there's stalking happening. But people will just let the evil shit happen. And I can do what I can do, but I have to have faith in God, because it ain't me who's going to move this mountain. And I need a miracle. I need a miracle. Thank God I still have a little bit of time, but I need a miracle. But I can't think about that. I can't think about that tax bill on my house because I'm too focused on trying to expose this shit, and always have been. You know, always have been. Have spent my entire adult life trying to actually expose this. And I've been involved with all of these people. And I'm saying that it needs to be investigated. I have not created a donation link. I'm getting ready to do a Patreon. I'm also thinking about, you know, because people don't like PayPal and Venmo. So it's just that with all the shit that has been going on, I'm distracted. So I have to like compartmentalize and dissociate into actually doing artwork and shit. Because the stress level is the fact that they just break into my house whenever they want, and the police are helping them, and all of that is just aggravating. It's aggravating. And I think anybody who was walking in my shoes would find it as aggravating as I did. That's just what I'm saying. And people can say whatever the fuck they want. But obviously, since they passed out those flyers, there's a concerted effort of people trying to bring me down and shut me up. Because those flyers falsely accusing me of being a pedophile, they were hoping someone would show up in my house and shoot me. They were. That's just wasn't meant for good things. They're just doing what they do out in the open. You know? They just are doing what they're doing out in the open. You know? And so I don't care what people think. Oh, you mean your opinion? Your opinion is? Wow, your opinion? You have an opinion, do you? Wow, you're remarkable, very unusual. Most people don't have opinions. You know, it's just, I just don't care. You know? I do meditate. That's what my journeying is. My journeying is actually an active meditation. Instead of meditating and letting my brain go, I listen to a drum beat. The constant sound of a drum beat tricks my brain into thinking that it's asleep when it's awake. And so if you allow yourself, you can have a waking dream. That's what shamanism is. And for me, it's like active prayer. It's like active meditation. because to actually sit down and try and silence all thought in my mind just stresses me the fuck out. It doesn't make me relaxed. I'd rather just, no, they're just in here actually thinking that they're just all bad. And you have to respect them to care about what they think. And people who have actually watched and have seen what's been going on, they know that I'm telling the truth. They know that I've documented everything that's been going on for years, let alone the last 2 years since the Dead Isaac Kappy Club descended upon me. And so, they just use whatever off-putting thing they can think of. And most of them are juvenile. They talk about your teeth and your hair, your clothes, and what you look like, what you might look like. And then they make memes about you. And then they make whole videos of memes about you. That's okay. Does not change the fact at all that all of this is about a child trafficking operation that needs to be investigated and exposed. It always has, it still does, it's important. Unless you actually think that trafficking kids is a good thing. And if you do, then all I can say is enjoy the fucking dark. That's all I can say. I'm fighting here because my dad was an evil man, and his sins fell upon my shoulders to try and reckon with and make peace with. And I'm not going to stop. And the best way to do that is to expose this group that has been involved with me and has and is, still is. They haven't gone away. And it's all just over and over and over and over. There's a whole collection of them. And for investigators, I think you should investigate me and investigate the people who have been around me. If Sherilyn is connected to the Famalam thing, that's a big deal. That's a big deal, because that Famalam thing is one of the things that got Isaac Kappy murdered. I think the fact that he was harassing Mike Aquino with 4 phone numbers probably didn't help. But that Famalam thing, I believe, is why that very last video, Isaac Kappy referred to himself as a Judas. Because that thing was designed, he designed it to actually fight child trafficking. And like I said, the people that are around him actually have turned it into using it for child trafficking. And it needs to be investigated. And the people that were involved when Isaac Kappy was alive need to be looked at. And the people who are definitely involved with it now need to be looked at. And who the fuck would that be? Oh, Daniel Dowd, Geo Farnsworth, Corey Daniel, Sicilian Witch Wife, the Dead Isaac Kappy Club, Sewertown. They're all fucking involved. They're all involved. That's why I'm saying it's not like I pulled their names out of a hat. It's not like I pulled their names out of a hat. All this shit needs to be looked at. It needs to be investigated by people with way more authority than I do. Way more authority. Nothing I bring to the table is going to be. They'll dismiss everything. That's what they do now. But in town, people are just drooling over my house. And it's not because it's a fancy house, not because of any of that. It's just because there's a lot of people in town who have evil fucking intent. They think about themselves and solely themselves. And they're binding themselves to something that they're being warned they should. Probably binding their ill intent to me regarding everything in my house. And there are people in town. Fuck the little realty dude who runs, you know, that's the reason why they knew Sherilyn was working with them. And I was already in contact with the realtor. I was going to put my house up for sale and move to Lincoln. And that's the reason why, for the first time ever, that shit in the back now, that the alleyway and the parking lot of that garage or that apartment building is all overgrown with weeds. It looks horrid. And it's because little realty dude knows that he thinks he's going to get my house for its steal. They all think they're going to get my house for a steal. It's a honeypot. Heaven is doing a honeypot, and their ill intent is binding themselves to the dark. And they don't realize that they're binding themselves to the dark. You can't tell them shit. I've been telling them, but they don't get it. They don't do shit. And all the people who are supporting the sheriff's department, who's not only dealing meth, but they're protecting and aiding and protecting fucking a band of child killers who blew up a gas station in Erlin, Iowa, and they lied for them. You know, they've been protecting this group for a while. I will make a donation link today. I will work on that today. I have to go figure it out. And I've just had, life is full of distractions. You know, life is full of distractions. Anyway, so that's my live for today. Getting Lorie King's murder investigated has nothing to do with the fact that Amber Volatin is transsexual. Doesn't have a fucking thing to do with it at all. Not a damn thing. Why it needs to be investigated is because Amber Volatin drove 2.5 hours, unbeknownst to anybody, to Lorie King's house and showed up unannounced, got her in the car, and drove her back to her house 2.5 hours away. And that was the same weekend that Ivory Garden was doing its second annual trauma conference in Seattle. And that Sunday that Ivory Garden was finishing up the trauma conference is when Lorie King ended up dead at Amber Volatin's house the same weekend. So she shows up, gets Lorie King goes, and then Lorie King just, as a fluke, just decides, well, fuck, I'm at someone's house. I guess I'll fucking commit suicide. Because that's how it works. You know? Why not? Why wouldn't, if she was going to do that, just stay at her house? You know? Why go through the whole thing of sending her husband away? And then he ended up dead less than a year later. And Amber Volatin is completely connected to Doug Mesner, who's all connected to this fucking shutting down survivors. And this whole satanic temple after-school daycare bullshit is how they're fucking targeting the kids. And Doug Mesner, a.k.a. Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, his whole fucking M.O. is shutting down survivors. That's what he's done. That's what he's done. Over and over and over, year after year after year. Over and over and over, I'm not the only one. And then pretending he's this social justice warrior when really, when it comes down to it, what he does is take social issues and then he weaponizes them. Nobody can actually investigate Amber Volatin because to actually do so would be discriminatory. Because Amber Volatin could not possibly be a murderer because she's transsexual. Just like Gabe Hoffman could not possibly be involved with child trafficking because he's Jewish. Just like Michael Aquino couldn't possibly be involved. Anybody who called him out with his crimes against kids, with McMartin and Presidio and all the other fucking bullshit this weird ass motherfucker was involved with, was discriminating against him because he was a Satanist. And you couldn't say anything because you were discriminating against him. Had nothing to do with the fact that he was fucking hurting kids. That's what needed to be investigated. Had nothing to do with the fact that he was founder of Temple of Set. Had nothing fucking to do with it. Calling out Gabe Hoffman doesn't have a fucking thing to do with what he identifies with his religious identity. Any more than it has anything to do with Amber Volatin and what gender she associates herself with. Doesn't have a fucking clue. It doesn't have anything to do with any of that. Not a goddamn thing. Nothing. With Amber Volatin, it has everything to do with the fact of the facts of the matter. She drove up, got Lorie King, brought her to her house. Lorie King ended up dead. And after Lorie King ended up dead, Amber Volatin went all around and told everybody how she force-fed Lorie King pills. That's how it worked. And a lot of people found out about it, and it basically shut everything down. Scared everybody. You know? Those are the facts of the matter. This needs to be investigated. It all needs to be investigated, and it doesn't have anything to do with what color they are, what political affiliation they are, what religion they identify with, what gender they identify with. Has absolutely nothing to do with any of that. It has to do with the fact that this is a child trafficking operation, and they have been shutting victims down for a long time. In fact, I'm the only one that actually is this vocal about the victims they've shut down. There's an inordinate amount of people who have committed suicide because of this group. There's just suicide after suicide after suicide that gets involved with this group, and then they all end up dead of suicide. I guess that this group is just so traumatizing. But they break into my house at fucking will. They dance around and laugh about it in my face, as do the cops. You know? Neil has been protecting these child killers. But now, in town, those people who actually want to protect Neil Gross and his little band of meth heads, or meth people that are doing that meth operation, just realize that they're protecting child killers. So if you protect them, you must agree with those who protect child killers. And if you think that spiritually that's not going to have any fucking difference, that you're just going to be explain that away to God, I think you better think again. This time it's all for real. And I'm not surprised, because what happens every time with every survivor is everyone looks away. And now, in this situation with everything that's occurred, there's going to be consequences to that, because there's energy that's happening with all of this stuff that is can't be denied. That's how it's working. You know, I haven't prayed in a while. I'm going to pray and then I'm going to get off here. But I wanted to make it absolutely quite clear. And you can go click on the link. I'm just going to put this video, this live, on that live. Or on that link on my blog. I'm not going to do it completely separate. Because that's shit that I have to get done. But I will work on that donation thing today. You know, I will work on it. It might not be done completely by today, but I'll at least know what I'm trying to focus on by Sunday. How's that? I'll give it that. it's just, this is crazy. It's just, dealing with all of this shit is crazy. And people have lost their lives. Lots of people have lost their lives over it. And they can throw whatever shit they want to at the wall. But when it comes down to it, this child trafficking operation needs to be investigated and it needs to be stopped. Flat the fuck out. That's how it works. And I would have never done shit with Neil Gross, Shelby County, Iowa Sheriff Neil Gross. But he wanted to act as a gatekeeper. He wanted to stand in between me and them. Go around, tell everybody how I'm paranoid, schizophrenic. Get everyone in town to lie about that gas station explosion. Just do all kinds of shit that he can just try and set me up over and over and over. Because it's been a myriad of fucking things. And that's why I had to focus on him. But you want to know what? I don't agree with meth anyway, so fuck it. You know? It was bad enough that these motherfuckers were okay with this meth operation in town, but now that you realize that the people behind this meth operation also fucking protect child killers, that shit matters. Spiritually, that shit matters. And it's going to matter, and you ain't gonna like the consequences of it, and you can't say you haven't been warned. You haven't been warned. I know it should go without saying. Child trafficking and pedophilia is fucking bad. It needs to be stopped. It's not entertaining. The motherfuckers that are involved are definitely not entertaining. They're not fun. There's nothing worthwhile about this entire fucking group. With that said, I hope we should pray. Heaven, we come to you as your children. I know we're supposed to fill our hearts with love, but it is hard being on the front lines of this to fill my heart with love. It's just, and I have a lot of stress going on that I am just trying to lay at your feet. I know we're called not to be afraid, but that is not easy sometimes. That is not easy. But we serve you. I serve you. I serve the word. And I have faith. And your plans are to help us prosper and not to harm us. And so I just feel that everything is providence and things will work out the way they're supposed to, however way that is. And you just can't be invested in the outcome because nobody knows how it's all going to work out. On anything. The only things that we can control in our lives are ourselves. Everything else is usually out of our control. Other people's behavior, events in the world, the weather, just life in general, you know? The only thing that we can control is ourselves, and I'm trying to control myself and actually just keep focused. But let my words be heard. This has sucked, but, you know, I can't say that I don't appreciate the fact that I have a place in all this. And that you have me on the front lines fighting. You know? As crazy as that is, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that you give us the opportunity to serve as you do. Because there's nothing better. And we say these things lovingly in our brother, your son, who taught us how to serve our brother, Jesus Christ. And we say all of these things gratefully, with all glory going to heaven and God and you. In his name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay. That's all I have to say. You know? Ain't life grand. It's just This child trafficking operation needs to be brought down. It needs to be brought down. It needs to be exposed. And I'm not, knowing what I know, I'm never going to turn away. I'm never going to be silent. I'm never going to do it. And this has not been fun at all. Because these motherfuckers are vile, and I have them on top of me as an army. Just doing whatever the fuck they can. To do whatever the fuck they can to me. All the time. Relentless. It never stops. It's not fun. They used to say, the thing that they used to use against Fiona and I, and John Holizak, I actually think, left a message. Dude, I don't give a shit how your last name is spelled. Fiona doesn't want anything more to do with you than I do. And so, this child trafficking bullshit needs to be exposed. That's flat out. All these personalities, all this fucking drama, all of this bullshit that is going on. It needs to be investigated by someone with authority, and it needs to be stopped. And those who disagree, those who aid and abet this group, even if it's just by not doing fucking anything but sitting on your hands, there's gonna be a fucking consequence to it. There's gonna be a consequence. And I know you don't want to hear it. I know the message that I tell people is not, it's not a feel-good message. People don't walk away thinking, oh, because I'm not going to blow sunshine up your ass. I'm just going to tell you how it fucking is. And it makes a difference. It makes a difference. And this time, I can't begin to reiterate enough. You don't want to fall on the side of the fucking child killers. And the only way to do that is to actually consciously choose to not do that. That's how it works. And the choice, as always, is ours.